My name is Jason Ross, and I'm interviewing Abdul Wasi Wahdat from Afghanistan, who is a courageous young man, and he's leading up a mission for expanding education in his country. And I believe, Wasi, you were just on a trip out to one of the provinces. Why don't you tell us what you did so we can learn about what your group does?
Sure. Let me tell you first of all about what we do and from where we started in what's LightPath Afghanistan. LightPath Afghanistan is a non-profit, non-governmental organization that I and also one of my friend Kamran Rayan have founded in 2001 when the political change happened. So the amount of stress and pressure among the young people and also children drove us toward this decision that we have to do something uh, meaningful for our community. Looking through my own background and also Kamran, we are coming from a places that usually there's no institutions, no platform that the people could thrive. And also I see the changes that I have experienced through education and how education helped me and how did I understand the new world and also how we can through education help our community in different fields. So that was the idea that let's do something for those who we have enjoyed this journey. So let's pave the path for those who cannot do that or they are not aware of what's going on in the real world. So they're mostly living in the past, stuck in the past. They were thinking, some of the people even thinking that King Zahir Shah was the president of Afghanistan when Ashraf Ghani was the president. So there's quite two different world, like 2 or 3 hours the entire distance between Kabul, the capital, and those remote areas, Paktika province, and then Logar province, also Paktia province, and also those remote districts. So the decision was this: let's do something for them. Let's help them to realize the new world, and also let's tell them that through education you can thrive and you can be as successful as everyone else. So there was a decision that we have decided to found this nonprofit non-governmental organization, and we have named it Light Path, which is in Pashto is Dranalar. It's equivalent to the Light Path. So through this, the idea was to serve the underprivileged and also marginalized community, specifically those who live in the very remote areas of Afghanistan. Usually, people in Afghanistan, multiple other organizations and nonprofits are working in the major cities of Afghanistan, but no one is considering doing something beneficial and meaningful for those underprivileged communities that living in the remote areas and rural areas, and there is no institutions, there is no school, no educational center. So you wanted to pave the path for those people who live on that very far away from the capital and the major cities. So this decision drove us to going those communities. In the first stage, we have started. There was a taboo in our community, which they think that the Pashtun area and these tribal areas, they are not very supportive of education. And although we both coming from that specific area, but we wanted to know, is that true or not? So we have through this initiative, and we went there to every major districts, to the talking to the tribal leaders about what they think of education, whether they let their daughters or their sons to be educated or not. Quite the contrary of what we heard, the people were quite appreciative of the idea, and they
Hmm.
said, you just bring a system and we will provide you with the, for example, the places, accommodations. You are coming here for how many days you stay here, and you bring us the stationery, books, and stuff. You have our completely 100% support. So that was something we never expected, but that gave us tons of energy. And we came when we came back to Kabul. So we have talked with the different, our professors, our other mentors about this journey and idea. So also my professor was quite appreciative about this journey and told us that's your responsibility. Now you have to take a step and go toward those communities. So the first beginning, we started distributing story books for children, and we have distributed over 2,000 books to children in many districts in these specifically Loya Paktia provinces, which includes four provinces of Afghanistan, which is Khost province, Paktika, Paktia, and Logar. So in these four provinces, we have distributed over 2,000 history books. And
Hmm.
then also we have established a library in Paktika province, which has over 1,000 books, multiple subjects, and usually self-help books, both for girls and for boys. And recently in our trip, we went there to evaluate the work and the impact of that library, which especially because I've never been to that library myself. The other, other volunteers and also Kamran went to the library when they were inaugurated. So when I went there and I saw the people, and there was a few elders coming in and thanking us for the library and how it affected their children. And a lot of at least 10 of the children are coming to that library every day in reading, and they are talking with each other, a debate or something about that specific matter.
Fantastic.
So that was something that I thought, this work is something that we have to continue. We have to, make it expand the work in different part of the country. So also in the recent trip that, as you mentioned, we went to Omni district. It's a very far district. So if you travel with 30 other minutes, you will be in the Pakistan. So that's near border to the Pakistan. That's a Durand line. So there, the people are mostly wandering. So they were going seasonal from one place to another place. But right
Hmm.
now they have built their own houses. Like there are over 15 families living there with 30 children that they are eligible to go to school, but there's no institutions for them. So we have established a school for them. We have built a school there, and we have provided the stationery, books for all of them. And there's this sort of iPads that you could write only you can write in those things as something incentives for those children. We have provided all of these things, and I'm sure as our recent documentary will be published, you could see there. And that was a trip that I think gives me a tons of energy and a lots of new idea and experiences that how we can improve and enrich and also enlarge this nonprofit. And a lot of our friends and many other now people are finding this quite interesting, and have been receiving calls and also messages through our social media accounts that how we can collaborate and help through your this mission. So that is something that gives us energy, and we are going toward to make it even more enlarge and expand the work.
That's really fantastic. I mean, this is an inspiring mission that you have. The fact, the way that you're describing how the library is being used, the schools are being set up, it makes me wonder what's the relationship between what you're setting out to provide with LightPath and what you would hope that the government would be able to do? Do you see these as complementary, or what's the relationship there?
I, we believe that we have a role to play in the part that we should help our communities. Also, the government is responsible. If you want it to be a government, you have responsibilities to provide services to your people. As a part of LightPath, we are not only doing the works, we also advocating for the authorities of the government to reopen the school back. That's something that we need. Afghanistan is in much need of doctors, engineers, linguists, teachers, educators, lawyers, and also professional policemen. So for these things, education is the basement. If you want to build a community that prosper and also be a successful country in the battle of civilization, and also in such a complex world, so education is the basement. So the government should do their part. We all always sitting with their different ranking of the current authorities, with their ministers, deputy ministers, and asking them that's the decision should be reversed. The girls' school should be reopened, and in a system should be set up and put together that respond to our current need, the current need of Afghanistan. So surely there is some relationship and the connection between what we do and what the government has to do. One of the things is that we also provide the education, and the government is responsible to do that. For me, I would think that the government should do their part in as a very helping force. We could help them in a very, not a large scale, but in a level that is in our capacity. For example, if the government could not reach to that far because of resources, financial, at least if I could get the finance and I do the work for them in down there in very far remote areas of the government. So usually we are working with them and we are sharing ideas. And also the government, usually the media, the legacy media are sharing usually, adversaries or adverse news that the situation is not that good in Afghanistan. I would say it isn't that bad as the media shows it. The security has been improved so much. For example, in the previous government, you could not travel to that area that I went in this trip. It's 7 hours trip, so it's not easy you do that. So that is a connection between me and the government. The government is providing me the security to go there. And also the people say that the government is against the education. Okay, I've been talking to their very top level high officials. They're also appreciative of this initiative, and they're saying that's a good idea. Recently, I've talked with one of the deputy minister, and he said, "How can I help you from my personal budget? How much money do you need? For example, if you set up a library in that specific area, which he himself suggested." And he didn't tell me that I'm going to provide you this document, these topics that you have get the books like this one, or all be religious. He didn't say anything. He just said, how can we help you to get the books and set up these libraries? So
That's
there's the connection.
huh.
There is the idea. So I think we can do that together. As far as you don't have a political agenda behind it here and you're not supported or have this connection with the intelligence of foreign countries, the government is appreciative of the idea. Especially, the government, let's divide these two people into two categories. One is the old guard, which they have their own ideas about the education, but the new guards, which is the ministers, deputy ministers, and also the lower rankings, they're quite supportive of the idea. And also they understand the importance and the value of education in Afghanistan.
Hmm.
So this is the idea. I believe we can do that. I believe we can thrive through education. I believe we could be the force of change through education. And the government is supportive so far.
It's really good at dispelling a lot of images that, as you put it, the legacy media present to the world about Afghanistan. So it's very heartening to hear what the real situation is on the ground and that it's so favorable to your work. So let me ask, how did you come to be involved in this? How did you and Kamran decide to set up a nonprofit to promote education?
For myself, actually, I think I've told you this before. My family was involved in promoting education since 2001. My father did a lot of works and established two schools in my village. And that was the first time that a girls' school was established in a place that Barak district of Logar province.
Hmm.
So since then, the idea of education and how we can be empowered or the community get empowered through education was cultivated in our mind through my father's work. So I think it was the seventh semester of our university. So we were talking about the Qamar, and that was specifically the time that the previous government collapsed. And there was the situation of uncertainty, especially for the young people, considering the over 70% of the population of Afghanistan is under 25 years old. So everyone was desperate. Some wanted to get out. Some wanted to somewhere in the situation they didn't know what to do. And there was the situation that the brain drain of Afghanistan. Quite people who got educated, who are quite professional people in different fields. But they wanted to get out of Afghanistan. And this question in my mind is always that, okay, if I, with all of this education, information, and capacity I have, if I leave Afghanistan and many other young people do, then who's going to build this country for us, after all? And in my nature is that I usually criticize the older generation of Afghanistan, for example, my father and grandfather, because they have left a third world country for us. Their legacy is not very beautiful for me personally. So I usually criticize them. And the question is that if I criticize my older generation, then what I leave for the next generation that comes after me. So I was talking to this idea with Kamran all of the time, and a lot Kamran was telling me, so okay, that's a good idea. How we cannot be like them? We can be a different people, do different things. And I was telling him, okay, let's do something that the others don't. Let's do not move Afghanistan for going in serving other countries that they are already developed countries, that they are already rich in a peak of success. And in Afghanistan is in truly in need of these young people. So I told him one of the reason I think if Afghanistan wants to be a progressive, prosperous country, there's only one way, that you educate every single Afghan in Afghanistan. Through education, we can build this country with a lot of natural resources we have. We are not facing an outrage of resources or minerals. We have a lot of things. We are a rich country, but it's still very poor.
Mm.
So you have to acquire the knowledge of how to use these resources, and that's the only way is to learn it. The education is the only way that you can understand all of these things. So all of these ideas, the reason that we have decided to let's put a structure together and do with the work. The thing I know, the information I have, that's given to everybody in this country. And a lot of surveys have been made, the researches we have read. So that the one reason that we wanted to do that was what I think what sets us apart than many other organizations is that what we do is in the very remote areas of Afghanistan. No one goes there, neither UNESCO, neither UNICEF, no one.
Wow.
So that's what make our initiative unique.
In going to these remote areas, how do you figure out where to go? How do you choose your locations?
As I mentioned earlier, that usually I and Kamran came from that specific area, so we
Mhm.
are familiar with the many districts, like the Omni, and there are other networks available there. They're also working in promoting education in this specific area. So there's the other non-profits, which they're not registered with the government actually. They are working in that Paktika province. So they have located that specific area for us, and then we went there for a survey, and then we realized this is the most underprivileged area and marginalized area, and they are in truly in need of this service. So we go there, and there are a connection and a relationship between us and also the tribal leaders. We usually talk to them and on phones, and also we are going there. And if they sees a potential there that we could help them through education, we could set up a school, could set up a classroom, we could set up a library. They would inform us there's a specific area. So if you do the work, and that could be quite positive for the community and for the young people. So there's a network which is not very formal, but informal network, and also the experiences and also the familiarities I and Kamran and my other volunteers that work with us have with this specific area. We locate the area, and then we go for a survey. After we have completed the survey and we found that's that area that's truly in need of this
Mm.
service, then we can give them the thing they want.
We met in November in Kabul at the Ibn Sina Research Group conference that was held there for a few days. And in that conference, there was discussion of education, there was discussion of infrastructure, of health, of culture, of energy, of water, of many subjects. I wonder if you could say more about how you view the mission of developing education in Afghanistan as part of the nation's overall development.
I think, as I mentioned, education is, I think, the basement for all of them. If you wanted to work on the industrial area, you need educated individuals, technicians, that you have to go through some certain education. If you want to do work on the energy sector, there's a great need of an essential that the people should be educated through this the sector to work. And usually Afghanistan does not have these all in expert people in that area, technicians. So unfortunately, all of the time, even in the past 20 years, we were asking the foreigners to help us through technical works. So the basement has this, of all of them is the education. And there's a great potential for the developing education on multiple areas, whether that's energy, that is the cultural, or also the educational system that could be set up for them. One of the things that I usually think is the education system, the current education system of Afghanistan is not quite responsive to these needs. So there is a need of that, and that's why Stay in Afghanistan is doing a great work here, in bringing in bridging a work that is quite needed, and we think would be very helpful in that area. So bridging and be a connection between Afghanistan and Germany. So the work is to be the potential for the education is quite greater than any other sector, because if you need a technician, if you need an expert, you need a doctor, you need engineers, anyone, they have to be educated. We usually say this: everything cannot be moved away or cannot be done by the mullahs, the imams of the mosques, that usually the current authorities do. And that's what we are discussing with them every time that we meet them. Okay, you have the government right now, but you cannot do the technical works. Let's give this work to the professional and expert peoples. And how we can get all the, unfortunately, a great number of experts have left Afghanistan in the past 2 years, which is, I think, a great loss for the country. But if they are not willing to come back, what we do? The question is here. So let's set up the infrastructure, let's set up the system, and let's educate new individuals. And let's give them the potential and also the idea that one of the things that usually the young people who are quite educated, bright people, are not very willing to work with the current authority is this, because the current authority is showing quite less respect to these individuals. They have their own agendas. I'm not going to enter to that domain. However, if you want those people to come back, to all those experts, if you want these people to help you build our country, so give them the opportunity, give them the platform, and see what they do. If you don't do that, you cannot understand their true intentions, whether they are able or not, whether they want that or not. So that is the thing. So the potential for the education is much greater than any other sectors, I believe. So for the development of that should be a collaboration between the nonprofits, and also with the government should be supportive of this idea.
I guess let me ask one final thing before heading into how people can learn more about you, which is about your sentiment that you transformed from disappointment with the older generations and you channeled that into saying that you wanted to make sure that when you're an old man, I hope you have a long life, that the next generations would not have reason to be disappointed in you. Is this sentiment with the change of government in Afghanistan, with the end of the foreign presence, has this engendered among young people more generally a sense of openness about what the future of the country can be?
First impression that we got, I talk as myself personally, was quite negative, because the past 20 years we have been told the Taliban are evil and they would come here to kill and butcher every one of us. And also the idea of the Taliban about us quite negative. So there was a conflict of ideologies between us. So the first point, we were uncertain and also afraid of the situation, and we were not very hopeful of the country. And we thought, okay, it's the end of everything. The government has started going backward, and we are not going to develop. Especially when the Taliban came in and closed the educational centers, the schools, universities for girls, and also the work domain for them. So we thought, okay, we're not going forward. It's a stop for us. The progress in Afghanistan there's an old idea that it says that Afghanistan is not going to build ever in the entire world. So I was very disappointed myself. But coming to the idea after 2 years, now sitting with their officials, talking and seeing the progress in the country and the work they themselves do, is something gives us a lot of energy. And we think, okay, no, let's do the work. They wanted to build Afghanistan. We want to build Afghanistan. Then why we shouldn't join them and work together? And that is when you put the two positive energy together. So usually things get easier, and you could achieve your objective much sooner than you think. And right now, their major projects are ongoing on multiple provinces, which gives me personally a lot of energy. And I think, yeah, Afghanistan is going to be a very developed and also a prosperous country in the future, a country that helps other countries. They are not being sitting here and be waiting for the charity of foreign aids in foreign nations. So this is the idea. I think there's a potential in the idea at the beginning, looking to the first the Taliban came, and right now it's quite two different things. Many young people that I talk with, they're also quite optimistic about the future of Afghanistan. Personally, there are domains that we are not supporting their policies, especially in the education area. I usually talk to them and I confront them in front of them that, okay, that is a mistake. Okay, I support this in this area, your project, that one is good, this one is better. But the education policy that you have taken is a completely, against the favor of the country. It's against the beliefs of the country. It's against the culture. It's against the even the belief of Islamic and Sharia law. So let's cancel all those policies that is being harming us, harming Afghanistan in the future, and put in place a policy that helps everyone. And usually, one of the things that's quite common among them, we ask them that, okay, when your wife, your sister, your mother got sick, what you prefer? You wanted to take him to a male doctor or a female? And the 100% answer of all of them is female. I don't want my sisters, my female, of my family members to go to a male doctor. So okay, if you don't open the school, you don't open the university, so then how you can have female doctors? So open the educational infrastructure in Afghanistan. So I think the idea has been changed from comparing to 2 years ago. And I think there's a positive change. And I think we could help each other and we could build Afghanistan all together. And I think another war, another civil war, and another foreign troops presence is not going to help anyone, but all come together. Let's unite together and let's build the country from the ground. And how you do that, you educate everyone about this potential that exists in the country.
Very inspiring to hear about how this dialogue process is having an effect, transforming people's views by having a discussion, having a direct discussion. Look, so your work, how can our viewers learn more about what you're doing? Where can people turn to learn more about or to support your efforts through LightPath?
Through social medias, we have established on Twitter, LightPath Afghanistan, and also through Facebook, and also LinkedIn. And currently, we're working on a very comprehensive website also. But there is not a very specific infrastructure that, as of now, what we have done, I should mention this, because what we have done is all self-financed. For example, it's I think as of now, yesterday we were talking about this. Over $5,000 have been spent on our work so far. It's all self-financed from our volunteers and also from personally from Kamran and also myself. So there is not an infrastructure or fundraising that we have not done so far. The registration is roughly completed with the government, with the Ministry of Finance of Afghanistan. When it is done, surely we will be establishing some others because we cannot do all these things alone by ourselves. One of the greatest challenge as of now, quite the contrary, what people think. Perhaps people think the Taliban are, putting barriers against our work, which is absolutely fabrication of the idea. It's not. The Taliban is supporting us. But what we face, the only challenge is now we are facing is the financial resources. We have very few. And we are in great need of financial resources to expand the work. Not one school, not one library, but to create another like 100 libraries or 100 schools or 100 classes and help thousands. So the challenge for us is the finance currently, and we are working toward that. So the social media is available for everyone if you want to check our work, and also the credibility of the LightPath Afghanistan. And shortly, we will be working on a comprehensive website soon, and we will be publish the link of the website on our social media, LightPath Afghanistan on X or Twitter, on Facebook, LinkedIn. You can reach out and see what we have done so far. All of the work has been published there. Usually, it's in Pashto language, also in Dari, but you could use the Google Translate, or you could reach out to us to help you through the work.
Great. Well, thank you so much for sharing your work, your vision, your optimism, your energy. I think this is a real inspiration what you're achieving, and I hope that our viewers will be interested in learning more and being able to help you in your efforts. So I'd like to,
Thank you.
yeah. So thank you very much for your time. And unless there's anything else that you would like to make sure our viewers know.
One of the thing I usually talk with our foreigners, whether they look through, follow us through social media or we talk to them, we have interactions, is that what the media shows you and what real Afghanistan is quite two different worlds. And Afghanistan is a beautiful country. Yes, we have been infected in a war-affected country for over 40 decades, but currently the situation is much, much safer. Yeah, there are adversaries. I don't say Afghanistan is a perfect country, but it's much better than the media shows. So don't believe it. And also about who watched us. The education system we are working toward is something noble, and your help and would be very appreciative. And make sure that if you have any questions, any concerns, any new ideas that you could think that would help us through this, your experts and your consultation would be very, very help us in our work. So we will really appreciate that. And also thank you for watching this interview.